sentence? Everybody has got the text? The chapter, the divine worker, the paragraph, again, the sign of the divine worker.
Yes, Rangada.
Yeah. So, I am reading each sentence. Again, the sign of the divine worker is that which is central to the divine consciousness itself. And what is that? A perfect inner joy and peace, which depends upon nothing in the world for its source or its continuance. Okay? It is innate. It's not caused by the physical world. It is something innate in itself. It is the very stuff of the soul's consciousness. It is the very nature of divine being. And what is that? Joy and peace. There can be peace without joy. It can be neutral. But this divine worker's peace is a perfect, calm, quiet joy. Not a very boisterous joy, but a very calm, quiet, undisturbed joy. Joy and peace. At our level, where peace is very rare, and joy can be very boisterous. It can be very loud and very unsteady also. But this joy is absolutely on the calm, and on the contrary, calm, undisturbed. It is innate. It's the very stuff of the soul's consciousness. It is the very nature of divine being. The ordinary man depends upon outward things for his happiness. Okay? All our happiness has got a starting point and an ending point, and it is caused by something always. It is always caused by something. Someone praises me, I am happy. I get good food, ice cream, I am very happy. Okay, so but in the divine worker is always happy without any cause. That's all. The ordinary man depends upon outward things for his happiness. Therefore, he has desire. Therefore, he has anger and passion, pleasure and pain, joy and grief. Therefore, he measures all things in the balance of good fortune and ill fortune. None of these things can affect the divine soul. It is forever, it is ever satisfied, without any kind of dependence. Nitya Tripto Nirashraya. Nitya Tripto, eternally happy, satisfied. Tripta, satisfied. Nirashraya, without any depending on anybody else. No dependence at all, independent. For his delight, its divine ease, its happiness, its glad light are eternal within him. Delight, ease, happiness. Okay. This is the same thing. Its divine ease, its happiness, its glad delight are eternal within him, ingrained in itself. Atmarati, engaged in the soul. Atmarati. Rati is the being engaged in, plunged in, concentrated on. Antasukho, antararama. Okay? Happy, sukha, always happy within himself, and also arama, peace and calm, quiet. Tathanta jyoti evacha. Tathanta antar jyoti. There is a light within, which is spiritual light. What joy it takes in outward things is not for their sake, not for things which it seeks in them and can miss, but for the self in them, for the expression of the divine, for that which is eternal in them and which it cannot miss. We discussed last time the self in them. So that is also very interesting. When you, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a story of a sage, I forget the names now, okay? And he has 2 wives. And he says, I'm going to give up the physical world, so I will distribute all my property between the 2 of you. One of them doesn't say anything. The other one says, okay, you are saying that, but will it help me to get to Brahman? So he says, no. So he starts a whole conversation with her, okay? And he tells her what love is. Love, he says, when one loves the wife, okay, that's in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. When one loves the wife, it is not for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self. Now, there is a double meaning. Last time we discussed it. At our normal human level, when we love somebody, it is for ourselves that we love. We demand always. It's very rarely for the other. A little bit of a uh, true love in human beings can think of the other more than oneself. That is possible. Even then, it is always self-centered. Okay? You can think a lot of your loved one and do everything for her also, but there is always self-centeredness. Okay? But the spiritual man, on the contrary, never wants to do anything for himself. His love is entirely for everything in the outside world, including his wife. Okay? That's the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I go to the next sentence. It is without attachment to their outward touches. Okay? Outward touches, bahya sparsha. Okay? That which comes from outside. And that which comes from outside can be words, can be forces, can be sensations, and it can also be influences, subtle influences that come. Okay? Anger, jealousy, envy, all these things are, we know very well that they are actually contagious. So when someone is angry, that contagion can come into you. So all these things, the divine worker is not at all affected by them. It is without attachment to their outward touches, but finds everywhere the same joy that it finds in itself. Because itself is theirs. Now, what is meant by finding joy in things outside? It means that you see the divine element in them, and the divine element can be of beauty, of structure, of the way it is built, the skill in things, or it depends on the person who is it. But everything outside in the physical world will be attractive to you, attractive in this sense that you will see that it will be a source of beauty and joy for you. That's what is meant by that. It is without attachment to the outward touches, but finds everywhere the same joy that it finds in itself, because itself is theirs. The cosmic consciousness, everybody is part of you, and you are part of everybody else, has become one self with the self of all beings, because it is united with the one and equal Brahman in them through all their differences. Okay? Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. You are the Atma of every other Atma. It does not rejoice in the touches of the pleasant or feel anguish in the touches of the unpleasant. Neither the wound of things, neither the wounds of things, nor the wounds of friends, nor the wounds of enemies can disturb the firmness of his outgazing mind or bewilder its deceiving heart. Why is he talking about wounds? Because he is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he is going to now wound his enemies, but the enemies also will wound his friends. So that's why he's saying he will become absolutely immune to all these things. It will not produce any anguish in him. Neither the wounds of things, nor the wounds of friends, nor the wounds of enemies can disturb the firmness of his outgazing mind and or bewilder its receiving heart. Neither outwards nor inwards. Okay, that comes in. Srimad often speaks about the outgoing and the ingoing. This soul is in its nature, as the Upanishad puts it, avranam. Avranam without wounds. That's again another reason why Srimad is using the wounds. Okay. Avranam, without wounds. In the Isha Upanishad, verse 8. Okay. Without wound or scar. In other words, absolutely pure and single. A wound would make it uneven, so it cannot be one. It cannot be even. Without wound or scar. In all things, it has the same imperishable ananda. Sukham akshayam, Ashnuti. He enjoys Akshayam Sukham. Akshayam, that which is cannot be reduced or increased. Akshayam. It never can get reduced. Akshayam, that which is eternal. That's what he's saying in the paragraph. Now we can go to the next paragraph. We can read.
Rangada.
Yes. Yes, Sangeet.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So Ananda here is impersonal Ananda.
Uh, if you are taking Ananda in things and people, it becomes a little personal. Nah? An impersonal Ananda is more abstract, more vague, without any cause. But here, he's saying you are seeing in things, everything in the physical world, even objects, are giving you Ananda. So the Ananda, which is that impersonal Ananda, is in the self. But here, in the physical world, it's not that impersonal. It is impersonal, but it takes a personal form. I can take pleasure in a beautiful face. I can take pleasure in a beautiful flower. I can take I can take pleasure even in a stone to see its color, to see its smoothness. Everything becomes a joy. Okay? So I can't exactly say that it is impersonal. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Suki, you read the next one?
Yes, I will read.
Yeah. That equality.
That equality, impersonality, peace, joy, freedom do not depend on so outward a thing as doing or not doing works. The Gita insists repeatedly on the difference between the inward and the outward renunciation, tyaga and sannyasa. The latter, it says, is valueless without the former, hardly possible even to attain without it, and unnecessary when there is the inward freedom. In fact, Tyaga itself is the real and sufficient sannyasa. He should be known as the eternal sannyasin, who neither hates nor desires, free from the dualities, he is happily and easily released from all bondage. The painful, the painful process of outward sannyasas, dukkam abdum, is an unnecessary process. It is perfectly true that all actions, as well as the fruit of action, have to be given up, to be renounced, but inwardly, not outwardly, not into the inertia of nature, but to the Lord in sacrifice, into the calm and joy of the impersonal, from whom all action proceeds without disturbing his peace. The true sannyasa of action is the reposing of all works on the Brahman. He who, having abandoned the attachment, acts reposing or founding his works on the Brahman yadhaya karmani, is not stained by sin even as water clings not to the lotus leaf. Therefore, the yogins first do works with the body, mind, understanding, or even merely with the organs of action, abandoning attachment for self-purification, sangam tyaktibatma sutaye. By abandoning attachment to the fruit of works, the soul, in union with the Brahman, attains to peace of wrapped foundation in Brahman, but the soul not in union is attached to the fruit and bound by the action of a desire. The foundation, the purity, the peace, once attained, the embodied soul, perfectly controlling its nature, having renounced all its actions by the mind, inwardly, not outwardly, sits in its nine-gated city, neither doing nor causing to be done. For this soul is the one impersonal soul in all, the the all-pervading Lord, Prabhu, who, as the impersonal, neither creates the works of the world, nor the mind's idea of being the doer. Na karitritvam na karmani, nor the coupling of works to their fruits, the chain of cause and effect. All that is worked out by the nature in the man, Swabhava. his principle of self-becoming, as the word literally means. The all-pervading impersonal accepts neither the sin nor the virtue of any. These are things created by the ignorance in the creature, by his egoism of the doer, by his ignorance of his highest self, by his involution in the operating of nature, and when the self-knowledge within him is released from the dark envelope, that knowledge lights up like a sun, like a sun, the real self within him. He knows himself then to be the soul, supreme above the instruments of nature, pure, infinite, inviolable, immutable. He is no longer affected, no longer does he imagine himself to be modified by her workings. By complete identification with the impersonal, he can, too, release himself from the necessity of returning by birth into her movement.
Big para, more than a page, and full of all sorts of things which have to be discussed. So as usual, Shem goes in one sentence also, he puts in so many phrases with so many things. So very interesting lesson. So let's see what he's saying. Basically here, there is a discussion about the inner renunciation and the outer renunciation. Tyaga and sannyasa. Nyas, the root nyas means to lay down, to abandon, to put away. Okay? So sannyasa is a outward putting away of things. When he becomes a sannyasa, when he gives us his family, and sometimes it goes even to the extent of even giving up clothes, as in Jainism. Okay? So it goes so far. Even it happened with Raman Maharshi also. He completely gave up all his clothes, all his life. He had only a loincloth and nothing else, no clothes at all. Okay? So that's a sannyasa. But the tyaga is cutting the link inside yourself with the attachment to everything. And if you cut the link inside yourself with the attachment to everything, then whether you do outer sannyasa or not is not important because you're not affected by anything at all. It's like I'm sitting here and someone is crying in the street. I'm not affected because it's not bothering me. So exactly all the things outside which you had attachment for, now you are not attached to it, then it makes no difference to you whether they are there or not there. That's a big difference between the tyaga and the sannyasa. There is a good deal of discussion in the Gita also. And Arjuna becomes very keen to know what are the signs of the real tyaga. And Shri Krishna tells him,
sometimes,
yes,
Rangata, sometimes this becomes a negative also, no? That
yes,
you are
that's
not
right.
interested. Mm.
It can become negative, and not only that, it can also be hypocrisy. Okay? You want to show people how unattached you are, and you give up, but the attachment is there inside yourself. Okay.
Mm. So
Yeah,
how to know whether it is, how can one know?
by honesty, by absolute honest scrutiny of oneself, absolute honest self. Sirna uses the words absolute self-criticism. You have to be absolutely objective about yourself. But one thing, you can never be objective fully about yourself in the physical world. You can become only absolutely objective about yourself when you go to the self. Because at that time, nothing is affecting you. But so long as you are in the body, the soul is in the body, objectivity is possible to a certain extent, but never fully. However sincere you are and however honest you are about yourself and your own defects, it can never be 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you go to the self, you are watching only, you are the witness, you are the sakshi, and a sakshi sees everything exactly as it is. Now that's interesting because when sometimes a yogi is given the idea of sakshi, what is sakshi? The image of the camera comes in. Okay? The camera sees exactly what is there outside without emotion. It's a machine. Whereas when you see something, Your emotions also interfere with you. Okay. This he has discussed also in the national value of art, where you have to teach your the physical mind, the manas, and the vital mind not to mix with each other. Okay. The mind also mixes with the vital. It should not. Its function is to think objectively, but it does not do that. It always supports the vital. So this is a very interesting thing. They, you can never be fully objective about yourself. Of course, there are people who are absolutely no honesty at all about oneself, but there are those who are very keen observers. They do observe things in themselves which are defective, which are not the right movements at all. But it's very subtle. These movements hide themselves. The vital, as Srendo says in the synthesis, is a is a uh, is a cheat. Okay? He's a what is the word he uses? He's an imposter. He puts on airs. Okay? The ego is something unbelievable. And when you catch yourself doing that to yourself, then it's a great discovery. And if you are really sincere about it, you will enjoy that whole process very much. Okay? You are hiding things from your own consciousness. So that is what Tarika said about it is outward, but also it can be hypocritical. And however much you try honestly, you can never be fully honest about yourself. Okay? Anyway, so let's get back to our text. Tyaga and sannyasa. I am reading each sentence. That equality, impersonality, peace, joy, freedom do not depend on so outward a thing as doing or not doing works. A very outward thing, doing or not doing works. The Gita insists repeatedly on the difference between the inner and inward and the outward renunciation, tyaga and sannyasa. Okay. Tyaga is the cutting of the link within yourself to outward things. And sannyasa is giving up physically things. Okay? You give up clothes and put on an ochre robe. In India, when you put on an ochre robe and move out, you are supposed to be a sannyasi. You can recognize people by their clothing, the garb. The latter, which is sannyasa, which is the outward movement, it says is valueless without the former. We have the in Jainism also that is there, and they practice total sannyasa, completely give up everything, no clothes even. And there, of course, there are two types, Shvetambara and Digambara. So Shvetambara, they wear white clothes, no colored clothes at all. So, not to be attracted by colored clothes. Shilpa knows all about Jainism. She is very interested in. She is a Jain herself, right? Shilpa? You are a Jain? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have had some discussions about Jainism. Jainism is a wonderful philosophy. Very, very interesting. So anyway, let's get back to our Tyaga and Sannyasa. The latter, it says, who is the it? Gita. The Gita says the sannyasa, the latter is valueless without the former. Okay. Now, Sremda has something very interesting to say. He says that tyaga is the real thing, and whether you give up outwardly or not is not so important. The real renunciation is the inner renunciation. And yet at the same time, he says that sometimes to test yourself, a outward sannyasa also is necessary. You may pretend that the favorite clothes of yours are I have a very beautiful pen and I don't want to lose it. But if someone asks you for it and you give it away, whether it's going to give you a pinch or not. If it is giving you a pinch, you are attached to it. If it does not give you a pinch, then you are really not attached to it. So sometimes you have to test yourself. So you have to go through that period in Pondicherry for a long time, no clothes, hardly any food. Okay? It lasted for fairly long. They were all surviving on borrowed money. And when the money started coming from Chandanagar, then they paid off the debts. Okay? So, sannyasa and tyaga. The latter, it says, is valueless without the former. Hardly possible even to attain without it. Okay? So, in other words, total outward sannyasa is not possible also without the inner. You may give up the outer, but the attachment will remain inside you. The latter, it says, is valueless without the former, hardly possible even to attain without it, and unnecessary when there is the inward freedom. So, the one who is absolutely unattached, he can enjoy things which he enjoyed in an attached manner earlier, but when he is free, he can continue to do those things without attachment. Okay? For instance, a very simple example, okay, someone is very fond of sweets. It's a very simple example. And he is attached to them. He can't do without them. I know several people in the ashram who are attached to sweets. They can't do without a sweet in the after dinner or lunch. Okay. Now, if he has become free entirely, it makes very little difference to him whether there is a sweet or not. But if there is, he can eat it, but without any attachment. That's a difference between the tyaga and the sannyasa. In fact, tyaga itself is the real and sufficient sannyasa. Tyaga is itself enough. He should be known as the eternal sannyasin who neither hates nor desires. Free from the dualities, he is happily and easily released from all bondage. Okay? The painful process of outward sannyasa, dukkham aptam, is an unnecessary process. It is perfectly true that all actions, as well as the fruit of action, have to be given up, to be renounced, but inwardly, not outwardly, not in the inertia of nature, but to the Lord in sacrifice, into the calm and joy of the impersonal, from whom all action proceeds without disturbing his peace. The divine is constantly creating things, but he is himself absolutely in peace. The true sannyasa of action is the reposing of all works of the Brahman. This reposing is very interesting. Brahmani adhaya. Brahmanyadhaya karmani. In other words, this is a concept of sacrifice in the Gita, yajna. And in synthesis, 80 pages on sacrifice. Okay? And what is the essence of sacrifice? You do everything physically, mentally, vitally, whatever you are doing, you do it for the Lord. Brahmani adhaya, placing it in the Brahman, thinking of the Brahman and doing whatever you are doing, offering it to them. Okay? So, he who, having abandoned attachment, acts reposing or founding his works on the Brahman. Brahmani adhaya. I am breaking up the sandhi for clarity. Brahmani adhaya karmani is not stained by sin, even as water clings not to the lotus leaf. There is a beautiful image in the Gita. Images in the Gita are absolutely marvelous. So this is also there. Water never makes a lotus leaf wet. Okay. So you are in the physical world, and all these drops of water which come from outside, influences, thoughts, feelings, everything from outside, bahya sparsha, it leaves you completely dry. It has no effect on you. Then you can say that you are fit for the divine work. Therefore, the yogins first do works with the body, mind, understanding, or even merely with the organs of action, abandoning attachment for self-purification. Sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaya. Sangam tyaktva. Giving up attachment for the purpose of purification of the soul. Okay. That's what it is. By abandoning attachment to the fruits of works, the soul in union with Brahman attains to peace of rapt foundation in Brahman. But the soul not in union is attached to the fruit and bound by the action of fruit. Action of desire. So, in other words, when your desire is fulfilled, you will feel happy. And when the desire is not fulfilled, you feel unhappy. But on the contrary, the yogin, the karma yogin will be absolutely left high and dry. Nothing will affect him. The foundation, the purity, the peace once attained, the embodied soul, perfectly controlling its nature, having renounced all its actions by the mind, inwardly, not outwardly, sits in a nine-gated city, neither doing nor causing to be done. Now, this is very interesting. The nine-gated city is very obvious if you count all the orifices in your body. Two eyes, 2 ears, and 2 nostrils. That itself comes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in your mouth, and the 2 organs at the lower end of the body, 9. So they are the 9-gated city. Now, this is very interesting. One thing which you should note very carefully. The foundation, the purity, the peace, once attained, the embodied soul. The problem with the embodied soul is it is prisoner of the body, mind, life, and that is where the attachment comes in. But the disembodied soul usually has no attachment, usually. Okay, but there can be attachments, like when a person is very attached to the children or the house and things like that. Then the vital being does not dissolve. Okay, that also is possible. But very clearly, Srimad is saying embodied soul. The soul in the body.
But Rangada,
yes, tell me.
Rangada, one question.
Yeah.
That is the vital being which is attached, not the soul, no?
No, that's you have to understand. When the soul is in the body, mind, life, it is moha. It is confused because it identifies itself with the body, mind, life. It's a soul which is identifying itself with the body, mind, life. It is essentially divine, essentially divine. But when it comes down, it plunges itself into ignorance. That is the adventure. Out of the ignorance, it has to rise into the knowledge. Okay? So, it is the soul that gets.
Dada, is it the desired soul? Desired soul. It is the kamana.
Yeah, the desired soul. Yes, and they use the word desired soul. When the soul is full of desires and it is in moha. Moha is confusion, and it is confused. It thinks it is body, mind, life. We all think it is body, mind, life, no? We are not even aware of our soul. So, when it detaches itself, that is the liberation. When the liberation comes, it's a soul that is now not attached to body, mind, life, and therefore free from desire, usually. Okay?
But Rangada, we understand normally soul as something which is detached and which is higher, no?
No. The individual soul in the body is in confusion. Even the divine, when it comes down and enters into a stone, okay, it has forgotten its divinity. Don't be confused, huh? The divine himself is confused. That's a game he's playing with himself. Okay? He says, I will go to the opposite of myself and come out. And that's a yogic process through many lives. Yes, Sanki, you want to say something?
Yes, Rangada. In this sentence, this is English question. This is the English question. Here, Sri Aurobindo said, having renounced all its actions by the mind. Here, the renouncing by the mind or action by the mind.
Okay.
So, in this
when
sentence.
So your question is, Sunki, you have to do that by the soul and mind, because that's the sattvic element in you. That's the highest. So normally when you do this practice, you try to separate yourself with the soul and mind. So you have to say that.
So mind is renouncing here.
Your mind is very important because that's the one that can give you in the Jnana Yoga. Okay, certainly it's the mind. With the mind, you try to dissociate yourself.
Okay.
The mind, first of all, dissociates itself from the body and the vital. That it does. But even when you are in the A sattvic person, you are still under the chain. Nah? The first is a leaden chain, the second is silver chain, and the third is a golden chain. The sattvic man is attached to everything outside with a golden chain. But that chain also has to be broken. So you use the mind as the instrument of detachment. You try to do that through the mind. It's the mind that tries to separate itself from Prakriti. Okay?
Dada,
Ah,
Dada,
yes.
that means in Jnana Yoga, mind is the main driving element, and in the Bhakti Yoga, vital is the main driving element, and in the
Not really
Karma
vital,
Yoga,
not really vital, but the psychic. Okay?
psychic.
Yeah, that's it. You try.
From the
By,
very one thing I have to ask Dada, from the very beginning in the Bhakti Yoga, is the psychic opening is there from higher
No.
vital? The
No.
seeking will be from the higher vital, I think.
no, it is not there. You have to try to get it through the vital. The higher vital, not the lower vital. The higher vital. It is even when we have ordinary devotion, it's a vital. It's the emotions in you, but not the lower vital, the higher vital. So what you said, Shima, is correct. That you try first of all in the Bhakti Yoga with your emotions. I wouldn't use the word vital because the vital can be lower vital also. It is absolutely unwilling to change itself. But the higher vital with its pure emotions, okay, it turns towards it, but there is a psychic influence from behind. If the psychic influence is not there, then Bhakti Yoga is very, very long path. If the psychic influence is not there. So basically what you said is
Ranga,
right. Jnana Yoga uses the mind, Bhakti Yoga uses the emotional part of it.
so
This is the
Ranga,
vital.
in Jnana Yoga also it's a higher mind, no, not the lower mind.
So when you use the word higher mind, it's a technical term which is outside the body-mind life. So you must say that the pure reason, if you say that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you are right, Pallavi, because, but you have to use the right technology, technical terms. Sorry. The physical mind, the vital mind, and the pure mind. So what you're saying is right. You have to use the pure mind. You have to discriminate between that which is real and that which is unreal, and that only the pure reason can do. The objective part of it, rationality. That's right.
Yes.
Rangada,
Yes. Yes, Archanaji.
Rangada,
Okay.
isn't higher mind, higher intelligence part of mind, but higher? Yeah. I'm not here.
No,
I'll
I can't
repeat.
hear
Can
you
you hear me,
clearly.
Rangada?
I can't hear you clearly.
I was asking, isn't the higher mind, the illumined mind, the intuitive mind, also the higher realms of the mind itself?
Yeah, the higher mind is the lowest in the spiritual planes of consciousness. The higher mind, and above that is the element mind, above that is the intuitive mind, and above that is the over mind.
Yes.
There's
But
a
are they
gradation
a
there
part
also.
of? Now, is it a part of the mind, we will say, or is it other than the mind?
No, it is part of mind only because mind actually is
That was
very
my
interesting
specific
thing.
question.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because it is mind which is there everywhere, from the highest to the lowest. But don't forget
Yes.
also that the Sat also is there from the highest to the lowest. Don't forget that power also is there from the highest to the lowest. Okay? So,
Yes,
Sripur
Rangada.
says mind with an M cap, meaning the Chit aspect, the consciousness aspect. Okay? Even the Ananda is there everywhere. So,
So it includes, so when he is saying capital M, then he is including all these?
now he's including the principle of mind, not located
that is
anywhere,
correct.
but can be located anywhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. And we have already come to 8:39. So we are in the middle of the para. Okay, so we'll have to start next Saturday from this one. Okay, and there's one very interesting thing which he has said here, which I just want to read out. Okay, about the Prabhu and the Vibhu. Okay, he says that I just read it. I'll take 2 minutes more. Okay. For this soul is the one impersonal soul in all, the all-pervading Lord, Prabhu, Vibhu. Prabhu is the one who is seated above, and Vibhu is the one who is the Lord in the universe. Because V means wideness. V is always going outwards. The prefix V in Sanskrit means going outwards. So when you speak of Vibhu, he is the one who is there in the cosmos. The divine in the cosmos is Vibhu, who, as the impersonal, neither creates the works of the world nor the mind's idea of being the doer. Na kartritvam, na karmani, srijati prabhu. Okay. That's the chapter 5, verse 14. Okay. It says, na kartritvam, na karmani, lokasya srijati prabhu. Na karma phala sanjogam, swabhavastu pravartate. So this is very interesting. The divine is not directly creating anything in the physical world. This you must understand. So who is creating things in the physical world? Universal nature. It is universal nature which is creating the world. And this is a very interesting thing because you have to see it in that way. That famous example which I always give to my students about the man drowning in the sea, thinking that the divine will come and save him. Several ships come and they say, we can take you. He said, no, don't worry. The divine is coming to take me. And finally he drowns. And when he goes to the Lord, he says, why didn't you save me? I was depending entirely on you. Then the divine says to him, I sent 5 ships to you. Why didn't you take advantage of that? So this story is exactly make you understand that the divine does not do anything directly in the physical world. He does it through his representatives. It is nature that creates things in the physical world, not the divine. Okay? Not the divine pure, not the transcendent divine. The transcendent divine stands outside the universe. So this is very clear in the chapter 5, verse 14. Na kartritvam, na karmani, lokasya srijati prabhu. The Prabhu, the Lord, does not create works and the worker. Does not. It is the nature that does that. Okay? This is a very important principle we must remember. Okay? Just as in the physical world also, the managing director of a company does not run any machine on the factory floor. He sits up on the 4th floor or 5th floor and directs everything. And he does the action work is done through assistant managers and supervisors. It's exactly the same thing that happens with the divine also. Transcendentally, he creates the cosmic divine and finally he creates the individual divine in the physical world. But by that time, he is not the divine himself. He is a divine who has forgotten himself. That's our case. Okay? I've gone 3 minutes beyond our time. We'll have to stop here. Any other discussion only next time. Okay? But we'll make a note. This Lord and Prabhu will start from there and finish it. Okay?
Yes, I'll make a note, Rangada.
Au revoir, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice
Au
day,
Thank you,
Rangada.
Rangada.
revoir, merci beaucoup. Bonne journée.
Thank you, Dada. Au revoir. Au revoir.
Thank you, Rangana.